Beautiful day we have out here in Jackson Hole. And what I wanted to ask the audience today is imagine a world where your branding was absolutely perfect. Ha, I almost got you because I don't use that word, right? We don't use the word perfect here on my show. But what if you could have your branding actually be done very well and feel really good about the way you're represented in print and also on camera, right? So that's what we're talking about today. My name is Rose Cayazzo, also known as Jackson Hole Rose. And for almost 2 decades, I have been teaching the secrets of social media to businesses, small and large alike. And now I have focused my efforts in the last couple of years to really hone in on women business owners and having them get themselves on camera as the face of their business to make more sales, which I know is everyone's favorite. So today we have Rachel Lee. Hi, Rachel. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing fantastic. I'm so excited to hang out with you today.
Oh, good, good. I wanted you to just do a little introduction about yourself to the audience so they know who you are and what you do, and then we'll get right down to things.
Absolutely. Well, I am very excited that we get to be having this conversation because it's kind of like I do something very similar to Rose, but in a very different area where I have a background as an artist and a designer. And I actually run a personal branding agency called Neogenesis with my business partner. And we actually specialize in 1 week brand transformations for entrepreneurs and also small businesses who are ready to own their weird and rock it online like nobody's business. Specifically, what that looks like, we actually are the people who can help you figure out your visual style and how to communicate that online. We understand we live in a world where everybody is online. And even though you know how to carry yourself in person, sometimes that doesn't always translate when you do the online thing. And it's really frustrating, especially when you're like, I swear, guys, like I'm an awesome person, but it just doesn't look like it. You can't feel or see that when you check out my stuff online. Our job is to help you really be able to put that through, specifically with visual branding as well as messaging. We do help you clean up your word salad in the case when you open your mouth, people just get confused. We can absolutely help you with that too.
It's so amazing. And people need so much help with that sometimes, especially with new businesses or
Mhm.
with businesses that they've had a while where their things are just kind of getting a little old that they need to do a refresh. One of the
Yeah.
things that I love to just kind of chat about because we had a chat before this chat and it was about you living in British Columbia. What's your favorite part about living in Canada?
Oh, I live in I like to say the beautiful part of Canada where we don't get as much snow as most people like to think. I know when people think of Canada, they're like maple syrup and polar bears. Like, is that like what you guys do? And I live in Vancouver, which is pretty much by the water. So what I like to say is it's beautiful because we get the ocean and we also get the mountains, and the temperature is very temperate here. So we do get a little bit of snow, but honestly, like 2 weeks of snow is about all we get in a year. And so the weather is amazing here. We get a lot of nature. We have like a good mix of everything. I'd say that the only downside is that we do get a lot of rain as well. So if you're thinking about like Seattle and London, like that level of rain and gloom, that's Vancouver. So I'd say if you're going to visit, a good time is summer. So this would be the window, like June to August. Come to Vancouver during this time. Unless you love rain and clouds, then feel free to visit at the other times of the year as well. But summer is typically when I recommend to visit.
Yes, I recommend that usually as well for being in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Although some people are very much geared towards the snow, right? We have a lot of
Yeah.
snow that we get. But I get
Yeah.
it. Someone was just putting through a little chat that said raindrop, 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 right when you were talking about where
Yep.
you live.
Yep, we get a lot of that. That's why I have my studio so brightly lit because when it's very gloomy, especially during those times of the year, this is my happy place. I do spend a lot of time indoors, and this is the supplement that I have along with vitamin D because we do lack that a little bit during the fall and winter months.
Yeah, I totally get it. My space is so set up for my comfort, right? So on
Yeah.
those days where I don't feel like venturing out, I can definitely do that.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about branding, right? So this word branding, it's such a big word for people in business, I find.
Mm,
And then once they decide I'm going to do branding, they want it to be perfect. They use this
yeah.
P word, right? And
Yeah.
so how do you shift your clients from a mindset of thinking this has to be perfect? That's not the way. Like, I don't want that specific, like, it needs to be. They get so down and dirty with the details that they're kind
Yeah.
of losing the whole purpose of the branding effort to
Mm,
represent you well, right? Tell me
yeah.
more about that and how you move clients into a place where they can really feel comfortable and moving forward. They're not getting so perfectionistic into the details.
That is like the top thing that I always have to address when I work with my clients because the branding industry, it's painted a certain way where people focus a lot on how perfect it looks. You have the perfect logo, your colors, your fonts, your style, your website is like locked down. But what I find, and the reason why I like to tell people that my personal passion is in personal branding is because people are messy. And I personally believe that the brand that you have should feel like a second skin for you. And it's supposed to be flexible and it's supposed to move and evolve with you as you grow because it's kind of like wearing a shirt that fit you in high school, but at some point you move on to university, that's going to feel tight around the edges. Maybe the style is different from what you want to wear when you're hanging out with the big kids. You're like, I'm a big kid now. I'm not a little kid. I need to change up the style a little bit. So I feel like a brand is very similar to that, where what you wear needs to feel comfortable for you based on that snapshot of where you are in your journey. And that's meant to grow and evolve, especially for business owners. I don't know about you, but even for me, I've been doing this for 6 years and every other week there's something new that I'm trying for my business. Like we're always growing and experimenting, and the brands that we create are meant to help support that, not restrict that. Like that's the last thing that we want. It's just meant to support and grow and evolve as you grow and evolve as a human and as a business owner. So I like to help my clients reframe that before we dive into our engagement. So then that way they focus less on this idea of perfection and they get more excited about, oh, you mean it could be whatever I want it to be and it's not a forever thing. So it makes it easier for them to make decisions when it's not such a big permanent thing. The moment they know, oh, this isn't like I'm not locked into this, then it suddenly the process becomes fun and magical and they ease their way into it.
And I think one of the best things that you've explained, you know how to communicate that to your clients so that they understand. I've heard a lot of branding people in their stories talk about like, oh, and then they wanted this, and then they said they wanted this, and then they wanted their money back, and then they're not, like these horror
Yeah.
stories about people that they think they
Yeah.
know what they want, but they don't know until you start that creative process, right? It's a very
Mm,
intricate thing. I'm sure you
yeah.
ask a lot of questions to get them from here we start and here, this is the final product. So,
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
mean, I love the way you approach branding because branding is important, but we have to remember nobody is perfect and your stuff will never be perfect, right? So,
Exactly.
tell me about your own personal branding because in our conversation before, we talked about how you maybe were trying to act older than you were, and you were maybe dressing differently, and it just
Yeah.
didn't feel right. It didn't feel good to you. Tell us
Mm.
more about that piece of you that changed someday, whatever day that was, or if you had an aha moment that said, you know
Yeah.
what, this is not me, and I need to be me, right?
Yes, I feel like it's something that I had struggled with for a very long time where most people when they look at me, they're like, "Oh, what high school do you go to?" 'Cause I have the baby face. And it's something I've struggled with, honestly, even before my business. For the longest time, I felt deeply insecure about the fact that I look a lot younger than my age. And so when I dove into the world of business, where you're left to your own devices to market yourself and convince people that they can trust you with their money. I found myself in this weird position where when I looked around, everyone was like wearing like suit and tie. They were so serious and uptight, and I thought that that was the only way that I was going to be able to get clients was by presenting myself that same way. So I ended up in this position where I dressed myself up a lot. I wore like a lot more makeup. I felt like I was trying to put out this front that said I am like a professional and I'm mature and I'm older and I like you could trust me is basically all of the stuff that I was trying to put out there. What was interesting is that it's not like it didn't work, but a lot of the people that I started to attract, they weren't actually a right fit for me because it's kind of like what you put out is what you attract. And so a lot of the clients that I was attracting, it was kind of meh. Like it wasn't the types of engagements that I was very excited to have because what I was putting out, it wasn't basically aligned with who I was. And so I got to this point in my business where I started to feel like I was lying to people. Like I just couldn't go to networking events anymore because the front that I had put on, it was like a mask I would put on every time I would do my networking. It just I felt like it was suffocating. I couldn't wear it anymore. And then so to protect myself, I just stopped showing up at all. I didn't network anymore. I stopped marketing my business and I actually got to this point where I stopped making money because when you don't show up, you don't like nothing happens. And so
Kind
um
of.
right, like
Yeah.
it's just I got to this very hard place where I couldn't show up anymore and I really needed to change the way that I showed up and presented myself to the world in order to continue doing my work. So it was literally like a quarter life crisis where I had to sit myself down and be like,
You're
okay,
so
girl, you're not happy with the way things are right now. Something has to change. What's going to give? And then so I asked myself all of these questions where it wasn't even a business exercise. It was just a personal question I had to ask for myself, which was like, okay, well, who am I actually? Like deep down, what is true to me and what do I actually want to put out into the world? What feels good? What feels natural? And whatever it is, let that be okay. And so I asked myself all of these questions. And because I'm a visual processor, I had to visually create something to help me better understand or visualize, well, what does that character look like? And unknowingly, that's how I created my personal brand, where in my mind it was like, this is the cool version of me, this is cool Rachel, I'm going to grow up and be like her one day. And this is what she would look like, here's what she would look like, here's what she would how she would talk, here's how she would carry herself, here's what her personality is going to be like. All of the things that I wanted to kind of grow into, I constructed that. And unknowingly, that became my personal brand. I didn't even have a word for it at that time. It was literally just, here's the cool version of me. I'm going to grow into this one day. And here's how I want the world to see me. And so that was actually the birth of my personal brand. And it's gone through so many changes and evolution since then as well. But it was very much like it was more of a personal discovery rather than a business decision. Of course, we do it for business as well, but for me personally, with my journey, it was very much a personal decision to figure out how I wanted to show up in the world.
And that must have just been such a relieving process too, to feel like, okay, I'm really going to do this. I'm going to show my true authentic colors of who
Mm,
I am, or cool Rachel, whatever you want to call it. It's still you, right? Like I
yeah,
have my name trademarked as Jackson Hole Rose, which is, the town name, but I am her. It's not like I'm
yes,
acting, right? Like I am Jackson
exactly.
Hole Rose. And,
Yeah,
when you were talking about dressing older, these types of things. When I was in the business world in the early 90s and I got a very high powered job at a place called Symbol Technologies, there was only
yeah.
3% women there.
Oh,
And
wow.
I wore a suit every
Oh,
day. Can
oh,
you even
man.
imagine me in a suit?
Oh my
I can't
oh
even
my
imagine me in a suit.
yeah.
But
Oh,
I
man.
actually had a red suit, but I was always very careful on the days that I wore it. Like when I wanted to
Mm,
scream my power, I wore that red suit on those important days. So,
yeah,
I still kind of had my way with it, but our own branding is so important. I feel like I've lived already 9 lives, but I've got a couple more remaining, so I just keep
yeah,
doing what I do, right? If I want to
yeah,
meet someone and I want to be outside, I'm going to go do that. If I want to be at my desk and do it that way, that's how I present myself. If I feel like
yeah,
doing my hair, then I will do that. Today, obviously, I didn't feel like doing my hair, so it's sitting on
yeah,
top of my head. But I'm
yeah.
okay with showing the authentic piece of me, which
Mhm.
is the messaging, right? Like I'm here to help people just like you are, right? It's
Yes.
important for us to get that message through first and foremost, that
Mm,
we do business with people that we like and trust. And
mm,
we also want that the same for ourselves. Like, I would never pick to work with someone who was a doom and gloom person. I need to work
yeah,
with someone that has the same type of feels as me, so to speak. And with the
yeah,
branding, I'm sure on your side, it makes so much sense to work with someone who gets it, gets who you
mhm,
are, gets why you do what you do, and how you can help them in a way that shifts them from not so, let's say, standing out as much to super bold, right?
yeah,
So I'm curious to know if you were to, like, there's a lot of women out there, right? So we're talking
mm,
about branding mainly for having, like the logo and these types of things that you
mm,
do. But you're so great on camera, and I love this so much because not everyone has that gift. You definitely do, Rachel. And if there's a
oh,
lot of women on the fence that are thinking, I don't know, like I can't be like Rachel or I can't be like Rose. Like I'm not like that. I'll just go ahead and watch what they have to say, even though I own a business that's really important to me and I'm really passionate about it and all the things. And then
yeah,
maybe I could do it, right? What would you
yeah,
say to a woman that is looking to shift her branding, not just,
yeah,
in a way that is powerfully on paper and with logos and pictures and these types of things, but going on
yeah,
camera and talking
yeah,
about their message? What kind of message would you have for them? Like, I always
yeah,
say, F perfect and just do it, right? Like, get
yeah,
yourself out there, be your authentic self. What would you say to
yes.
women that are just on the fence?
Mm, I think it would just be a piece of reassurance that people actually do want to see you. I feel like we always have this weird thing in our head where we're always so self-critical. We are our own worst critic, all of us. And there's always that voice inside your head that's gonna tell you, like, no one's interested in you, like, you're not that interesting. Like, look at how weird and awkward you are. Why do you do that thing with your mouth? Or, whatever. Like, we all have those things. But time and time again, every time I have personally taken a risk and just put myself out there, and of course, with that deep fear that no one's gonna like me and I'm gonna lose all of my business, I'm gonna scare everyone away, and I'm just gonna be alone forever. Like, all of those things do run through my head every time I'm about to put myself out there in a big capacity. And every single time, I have been so pleasantly surprised with the amount of positive feedback that I've gotten, where it's always the opposite. People would be like, "Oh my god, it's so good to see you. Like, thank you for sharing this." You will always be pleasantly surprised. There will be weird people on the internet. I can't say it's a completely safe place. There are weirdos out there, and do be careful. But if you do a good job of taking care of the people in your circles, it's okay to put yourself out there because people actually do want to see you. They want to see how weird and quirky you are because, like, that's what they're buying into. So, it's just a piece of reassurance that I would actually put out because even for me, when I first started, I hated the sound of my own voice. I didn't like doing the thing on camera, and I had to find opportunities to practice just by myself in a very safe setting, like where I would just practice talking to the camera, just recording it on my phone. It wasn't live, there was no audience. It was just me and my cat in the room, who at that moment I thought she was low key judging me too. But it was literally just I had to force myself to practice and get over that feeling of embarrassment. And I would force myself to watch that recording again to normalize it. So I would say also find opportunities to practice. Like, that is very important. Practice in a safe setting. So you could just like get familiar with it. So when you are in a situation where there might be some people looking, you've already put in the reps, so you're a little bit more comfortable. But I would just say, know that people do want to see you. Like, there's every single person is actually deeply interesting. And so you would just kindly and respectfully tell those nasty voices in your head, thank you, but please sit down. I don't need your opinion right now. I'm going to show up and do my thing. And whatever ends up happening, let that be okay.
I fully and totally give my endorsement on that one. I mean,
Yeah.
some of the things that I teach, right, are about doing that and having that private space to take for yourself and
Mm,
really get to know you again
yeah.
on camera.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so
Definitely.
much for being
Mm,
here today. I just really have enjoyed the conversation about branding, the perfectionism, how we make that right for ourselves, and how we can be comfortable being authentic. So tell the audience where they can find you, and I'll make sure that in all of the information below that they can have the proper website and the names and everything are spelled properly so people can find you.
yes. Absolutely. So I love hanging out on Instagram. That's where I like to call Instagram my home. I post design stuff, of course, but I also share like my adventures or the weird random things that I do with my cat sometimes. So Instagram is my home of preference. My handle is Rachel T.Y. Lee. We'll make sure that's in the description. I am also on LinkedIn, though. That's where most of the business conversations happen. So feel free to find me on LinkedIn. My name is a bit harder to search, but I'm sure we could put a link to my profile as well, so it's easier. And also, I have two websites. One for my own personal brand, which is racheltyle.com, but also for my business. So if you're more interested in like the branding stuff, then I have a website for that. For my business, Neogenesis. The domain is neogenesis.me. So we'll make sure all of the links are available, but would love to connect with you guys afterwards on social.
Awesome. Thank you so much. There's one last thing that I like to do before I stop the live stream. First of all, hi, I'm from the UK.
Big question.
$1 million. But I'm sure there's lots of other places in the US you can find that could suit your fancy. It just depends on who you are and what you like because the states are so different all the way around, right? Like you got the South, the people that talk like that and they wear cowboy hats. And then you have people from New York and they talk like this and they talk really fast actually. And then you have, the West Coast, they kind of very chill, or like the surfer dudes that, talk, or the
Yeah.
Valley girls. So you have to kind of do your own research. Just wanted to make sure I answered that question for Mohammed that asked here. So, yeah, that one last thing is I love to have my guests say F perfect, just because it's like one day I will put together this really fun compilation of all my guests where everyone is saying it because I feel
Yes.
so strongly that F perfect, forget perfect really means a lot if you
Mm,
keep that mantra in your mind if you're having an issue going on camera. So
mm.
I'd love it if you said F perfect, Rachel.
Oh, hell yes. F perfect. I live my life by that mantra as well. At that point, it's just there's nothing to lose if you just try it. And at least, even if it doesn't work, you could say that you've tried. So
That's
I'm all on board
exactly
for that.
right.
Yeah.
And I'm just like hitting the flies and the mosquitoes. So it's almost time to get out of here. I want to just close with thanking the audience for being here. In addition to, you can also check out my other videos about how to work with me because if you're nervous about getting on camera, that's how I help. And again, we'll have all of Rachel's information there if you're looking to do some branding for yourself. Really important things that we do here. So thanks again, Rachel. And I'll just say F perfect, right? Just do it,
Yes.
like Nike says. And
Yeah.
keep it real. Stand out by streaming live because it's your authentic edge in the AI age. Thanks, Rachel.
Absolutely. Thank you, Rose. Take care.